Hey, I'm Lindsay Lyman. I worked almost 12 years at Amazon and saw so many brilliant and successful overachievers burn themselves out and leave their jobs because they're so stressed and anxious. But guess what? Having a successful career does not have to be at the expense of your mental sanity and personal time. There's an easier way, and I can show you how. Let's do this. Hey friends, how's everybody holding up? Hope you're loving this summer as much as I am. I love water, the pool, the lake, the ocean. There's something magical about it. I could just sit and stare at it for hours. Sometimes I like to pretend I throw all my problems in the water and they float away. It just is so therapeutic. So my wish for you this week is that you're getting some time in the water. Okay, I got an ask for you. Would you rate and review this podcast? It would help me so much. It's really one of the key things that helps get this word out to other people, which I'm really passionate about because I just want to help all the people that I can. So if you take a quick minute on whatever platform you're listening to this on, leave a rating, leave a review. Even if you think I'm terrible, I want to hear it. Tell me all the things, and let's help get this out to other people. All right, today we're talking about people pleasers. And my sister always says people pleasers are liars. That phrase is what goes through my head whenever someone says, like, I know I'm just people pleasing. But I myself am a people pleaser. It is so much easier to just try to keep everyone around me happy and keep the peace and go from there. I found that overall, like, I'm a pretty easygoing, go with the flow type of person. There's very few things that I am very particular or have really strong opinions about. So it's really easy for me to be a people pleaser. For example, when we're trying to decide where we want to go out to eat, I'm like, I don't know. I love all kinds of food. I just want food that tastes good. It's very easy for me to go with the flow and say, I don't know, what do you want? And let the other person choose. Another example is last week, I went up camping with about 200 girl teenagers from my church as a leader. And as you can imagine, it's a lot of people not sleeping well, not showering, being eaten alive by bugs, living off of candy and junk food. So, there's some feelings. And we had an incident with one of the girls trying to figure out some sleeping arrangements. And my people-pleasing tendencies came out. The person that I was a counselor with was kind of really sticking to the rules and wanted to make sure this person understood it and enforcing it, which ultimately was the right thing to do. But it was just fascinating to watch myself as I was so uncomfortable having that strong, stern, no, this is what we got to do. Because I knew the girl was not going to be happy. I didn't want it to ruin her experience. I didn't want it to kind of become a dramatic thing amongst the other campers. And I really was kind of playing the good cop in that scenario because I just was so uncomfortable with her being uncomfortable. Again, my co-counselor, myself, like nothing is right or wrong. We both have our different approaches and that's a beautiful thing. It's just fascinating that I continue to see places in my life where I'm people pleasing and kind of lying because again, at the end of the day, I knew going back to this experience at camp, the rule needed to be enforced and it was the right thing to do, but it just was so uncomfortable for me. As I've thought a lot about people pleasing, I think it comes down to kind of two main problems. And I want to really talk more about the second one. But the first one I'll mention briefly is when we're always doing what the other person wants and trying to keep them happy, it can lead to resentment. It doesn't happen every time, but I've seen this in myself and with a lot of my clients. When you don't pay attention to what your needs are, you really start to resent those people around you. For example, I've noticed I get a lot of resentment in keeping my house clean. I get so frustrated. I'm like, am I the only one that noticed the garbage needs to be taken out? Like, surely my kids had to step over all of this stuff on the stairs before they went up or down. I can't be the only one that notices the house is trashed. And it just creates so much unnecessary resentment when really that's just me not paying attention and noticing my needs. I need help. I need my kids to pitch in. I need other people to help keep the house clean. I need to learn how to relax in a messy house. These are the things that resentment is telling me I need. Another example I've seen of this resentment is in scenarios where maybe your manager or a different team member kind of gets the accolade and acknowledgement from leaders or skip levels or executives on doing a good job at work, delivering on a project or doing something big. And I've seen it create this resentment because, ultimately that person didn't do it. I knew when I managed teams, I was the face of the team and I would get a lot of accolades, but I didn't actually do the work. That was my team. They were the ones doing all of it. And so again, we want to make our managers look good. We want to get the good job, but if you're feeling resentment because you continue to try to keep everyone around you happy, what that might be telling you is you're not appreciating the work you're doing for yourself. People pleasing can sometimes lead to resentment. But what I want to talk about more is the second problem I see with people pleasing. It's when you really get stuck because it doesn't always work. Okay, I'm going to give you 3 scenarios that I've seen where this is the case. This week I was talking with someone and they were telling me about their manager they were struggling with. This was a very emotionally intelligent person. They were very successful at their job. They loved their team. They loved what they did. And a couple years ago, they had been brought on to kind of be a peer to their manager and to really help focus on that kind of human side of things, because that was this person's strength. And the manager, the partner, was really good at the operational side. So this had been going on for a couple years. So this person that was brought in to focus on the human side, they were trying to tell the other person like what they were doing well, and they would offer suggestions and maybe you could do this or this. They would try to start out with a compliment before they gave some of these suggestions, right? They're trying to like soften the blow, which is a good thing. We don't want to be rude and jerks, but sometimes because they didn't want to upset this other person, they would just let them take over the meeting. They would back down and not say anything. Ultimately, trying to keep this co-partner happy was just continuing the problem, because now this person that was brought in to help bring the human side is now frustrated with the operations manager, because clearly the operations manager keeps operating things and removing the human elements of it because that's what they're good at. But this person was people pleasing and not being honest and direct and having some of those conversations and saying things that the other person needed to hear because, again, we don't want to upset people. Let's look at another example. How many times have we been in a situation where there's a leader that really wants to hit a goal that you just know is impossible? It's not going to happen. Doesn't mean you're not willing to try. Doesn't mean you and your team aren't going to do everything you possibly can. But when this is the case and we want to people please, we tend to provide updates that the leader wants to hear. Sometimes we leave out details that might tell other sides of the story. We tell them things and kind of keep giving this false sense of hope. But then we often are trash talking them behind their backs or after their meeting, whether that's in our heads or behind their backs to other people. Okay, we're pleasing them. We don't want them to be disappointed. So we're kind of softening the blow and trying to leave ourselves a little bit of wiggle room. A third example is when things within your company, there's like a policy change or a leadership change. So I've seen this a lot with return to office or when leaders change and kind of shift priorities and shift direction. We people please by kind of pushing back, softly stating some of our concerns, but not really saying the obvious thing that all of us are thinking. And again, just kind of ruminating and talking badly about them in our heads or to other people. Or we agree with leadership because they're new and we want them to like us and we don't want to upset them. We want to people please. This is a natural thing. We don't want to be jerks. I'm not saying to go out and be rude and be jerks. But when we're doing this, we are lying to them and lying to ourselves. I think we as people pleasers, and I'm putting myself right in this bucket, we are the ones playing political games at work. We're trying to keep everyone happy so everyone likes us, everyone wants us in on their team, but we're not stating what we know is the truth and fact when it's hard to hear. So the problem is we need to stop needing other people to feel good in order for us to feel good. We know it's okay not to feel good all the time. You've got to learn healthy ways to do that. What is a healthy way? What does it look like in a human, kind, loving way for you to not be okay? What does that look like for you in this current setting? It's constantly going to be changing, but it's something you need to be working on. For me, it's having a little bit of quiet time. It's going outside for a walk. It's listening to music. It's taking a nap. It's drinking water. It's taking a bath. It's spending time with my dog. It's calling a friend. It's having someone give me a big hug. These are things I know I can do that help me be okay when I'm not okay. There's no right or wrong way to do it, but you've got to be constantly focusing on how do you take care of you in healthy ways when you're not okay. I know I talk about this over and over again, but it comes down to self-confidence. When you know how to take care of you, when you're getting your own back, when you have a high comfort level with discomfort, when you are not optimizing to other people's opinions of you, that is where that true self-confidence comes in. That self-confidence is a belief in your ability to figure it out, a belief in how do you have that hard conversation? How do you work with that leader and say, no, when you do this, it doesn't work. You hired me to be the human side. I'm calling you out. We're going to have some hard conversations. It comes down to your confidence within yourself. Not that it's perfect, not that it's beautiful, not that you never screw up, not that everyone loves you, but that you're going to keep trying and figuring it out until you get there. So let's look at that bad manager, for example. If we're not people pleasing, we've got to be okay with the other person not being okay. You can do that in a very empathetic, kind, and loving way, but you've got to be honest with them. They're going to need to hear some things they don't want to hear. But if they're really wanting to grow and step in to be a leader, they will hear it and apply it in a way that's genuine and true. Think about that impossible goal that leader really wants you to hit. Tell the truth. Set proper expectations. Tell them all the things we're going to try, all the things we're going to do, our hypothesis on how we think we're going to close the gap, but be honest. It's okay for them to not be okay. I used to joke and always tell my team, like, the worst thing that's going to happen is there's going to be some rich dudes at the top that are sad. I don't know about you, but I'm very okay with that because I'm working my tail off to get there. I'm okay if they're disappointed in some arbitrary made up goal. It's okay for them to not be okay, and it's okay for you to not be okay. Return to office. The truth is, it sucks. We don't like it. That's okay. Let it not be okay for people. Don't try to make them feel good. Ask them what help and support they need through this. New leadership, going in a different direction. It's okay for you to not agree. It's okay for you to have questions. It's okay to admit to them it's going to take some time for people to get on board. It's okay to not be okay. The more you're focused on learning how do you take care of you when you're not okay, the easier it is for you to let others around you not be okay and love them through it. And when we all have an increased tolerance for discomfort, we no longer need to people please. We just get to be honest and be ourselves, who's kind and amazing and loving and empathetic and screws it up sometimes, but listens and hears and keeps trying to grow and get better and then screws it up again. And that's a beautiful thing. That removes the office politics. That removes the drama. We're just able to love people when they're in a great mood and when they're not in a great mood. So come join me in trying to stop lying to people and being people pleasers. Focus this week on what do you need to do to take care of you when you're not okay. Make it simple, make it small, and go and do that. You got this. We'll talk soon. If what you're learning from this podcast is helping, this is just the beginning. Each week, I offer a limited number of coffee chats so that you and I can connect one-on-one and talk specifically about what's going on for you. You'll leave this call feeling more hopeful and motivated, but I'm also going to teach you a few things to try right away to get unstuck. Space is very limited and these are free, so grab your spot before they're gone. Click the link in the show notes or go to lindsaylymancoaching.com/chat and sign up today. You got this.